Hello everyone, my name is CharryOn, and welcome back to the Vintage Story Guide. That's right folks, we are back in the world after last time when we built a cellar and built part of a house. So we have the beginnings of a house here and the beginnings of a cellar, and I'm already realizing a few changes I want to make, but I think that's going to be a story for a different time. But the cellar is kind of inconveniently placed at the moment. Now, I've been a bit busy. You'll see it's been about a day since the last episode, at least in-game, and I have been busy during this time. First, I checked our rabbit traps. One of them had a rabbit trap in it. I picked it up and released him into our pen. Another boy, sadly. Then I chopped down a pine tree for some more wood, because some of you pointed out that bears will attack and kill pigs, so I fenced in our pig pen. Then I replaced the rabbit traps and moved one of them. I came home and I broke and replaced all of our torches. This is getting old. Then I dug up some more medium fertility soil, expanded our farm in order to plant the rest of our flax seeds, and cooked a hearty mushroom stew to start today off on the right foot. And that, folks, is where we're starting today. What's in the menu today, CharryOn, I hear you ask? It has been a couple in-game weeks since we started the game. And if you might recall, at the very beginning of the game, and if you're playing along, you'll have seen this too, in the chat window, over here, previously there was a note that said 16 days until your first temporal storm. Now, after the first few times you load the game, that message will no longer show. So at this point, we're not quite exactly sure when 16 days is, but it is getting close. However, if you are in single player, or if you're an admin or moderator on a server, you can run a server command, that being /next temp storm. Hit enter, and it will tell you, oh my, we have 2 1/4 days until the storm hits. So what is a temporal storm anyway? Well, long ago, something broke the world, connecting ours with the rust world, which is where the drifters and shivers and bowtorn come from. Every so often, the veil between these two conjoined worlds weakens, and the rust world, which normally leaks into our world, floods into it for a few hours. Nowhere is safe. Monsters can spawn in lit homes, in broad daylight, even right next to you. Worse, higher level monsters will spawn than you would normally see at the surface, including some particularly deadly ones that only spawn during temporal storms. These last for a few in-game hours, usually about 5 real-life minutes, and during the storm, your temporal stability will drain constantly, and there's no way around this. Although, killing drifters will restore some of your temporal stability, and as long as the area you're in is normally stable, when the storm ends, your stability will recover at the normal speed. And, as one last mercy, most of the monsters spawned during the storm will evaporate when the storm ends, although some may hang around. Notably, corpses of monsters can also vanish, so if there are any that you want to loot, you'll want to find a way to prioritize that before the storm ends. Well, that all sounds terrible now, doesn't it? Sounds scary, sounds awful. And especially if this is your first temporal storm, it is pretty scary. The whole world gets very wavy, everything turns sepia and red, and the monsters flicker in and out of existence. It is a terrifying experience. So how do we protect ourselves in this temporal storm? Well, generally speaking, as long as you're in a reasonably lit home, like a small room like this one, you're probably pretty safe. Because what happens is, although the monsters can spawn next to you, that doesn't mean they will. They still spawn in a random distribution around you, so you'd have to pick a square right next to you that isn't also your roof or a floor below or a floor next to you, etc. But there is the chance something could spawn in here, and given that these monsters might be stronger than what we normally fight, they could actually hurt us or kill us. In that case, we could maybe dig ourselves a little hole in the wall here, and scoot our way inside, and build a little storm shelter right here. Maybe not right here, or we could maybe temporarily put a block right there, and close ourselves in, not getting into the bed. There we go. And we could at least see into our home, and hopefully things couldn't reach us here. But that isn't a surefire bet. If you want to be extra safe, you probably want to go somewhere and dig a little hole, like say, I don't know, right about here. There we go. This is about as safe as you can get, at least as far as sheer survivability is concerned. You should note that rust monsters don't normally attack animals, but if one of them is trying to attack you, and hits one of your animals, then it could hurt the animal, and if the animal attacks back, then they could start fighting, and most drifters that spawn during storms are going to be tougher than even your average boar. In general, try to stay away from your animals during temporal storms. However, temporal storms aren't all gloom and doom. There's also treasure to be had. Many drifters will drop flax fibers, which aren't anything special, but at this stage of the game, every flax fiber we can get is important. Rusty gears are also possible drops from some drifters, especially the tier 1 and above drifters. And those are important because the merchant down yonder won't part with any of his wares unless we give him some gears. We might also get lucky and get a temporal gear to drop. That would be great because then we could set our spawn point somewhere convenient, like, I don't know, inside our house. And lastly, we could get our hands on some Jonas parts, which are a very rare drop from a very difficult kind of enemy. It is possible, although at this stage of the game, less likely than later on. And those are used to craft some very advanced pieces of gear that border on the magical. And there you have it. If you haven't already guessed, I do prefer to try to capitalize on temporal storms. Although after you've had about 10 or 20 or 500 of them, they can get kind of old, so I tend to turn on the option that lets you sleep through them, especially when I'm doing a playthrough with an audience, so that I can get back to what I was doing before. To that end, we are going to, in the morning, pick a location and start building a little temporal farm. I might also call it a storm shelter, but it really is a bit of a farm. And we're going to want to pick somewhere that is relatively open, doesn't have a ton of caves or cover. Maybe clear out some of this junk here and plop it right here. So it's close enough to home, but far enough that anything that spawns won't be spawning inside and being trapped in our home. So I'm going to get to work on that in the morning, and I'll see you all when we're ready to start building. Alright folks, our ground is prepped. I might fill in this little zigzaggy thing here, and let's get rid of this thing. Drifters and other monsters can get hung up on any complicated geometry in the landscape, so when trying to take advantage of them, it's best to make everything as simple as possible. This isn't quite flat, but then again this is kind of far from where we're going to build, so I'm not too worried about that. Now, in order to just slightly spruce our build up a little bit, I am going to grab maybe a stack of this. I'll put some sticks in there, maybe a second stack just in case. And I think I actually have a use for something useless in our house. This door. See, since we're going to start the temporal storm already inside it, with the door closed, we don't need to worry about it breaking. And since the only time we'll open it is when it's over, or if we need to run away because something spawned in there with us, then we don't care if it breaks. So I think we can safely use this stupid door. So I think what I want to do here is I'm going to bust out some... Yeah, let's do some packed dirt this time. But I want to frame, say, the doorway, perhaps, with a little bit of oak. So we'll do something like this. Is this far enough from everything else? It is. And we'll go up. And we're going to build a little room in here. It's going to be 5 by 5 on the interior, a bit like so. And we are going to have to come back and we'll take out these corner bits in a minute. But first we're going to build out little tiny holding cells for the monsters, like this in each corner. There we go. And then let's build up some walls here. And the idea here is that we're going to have these little holding cells there will be stairs leading up to them and inside here. So monsters will be drawn toward us, as they always are. They have some ground-penetrating radar, and they will then get trapped in here. And once we have our little setup complete, we'll be able to attack them, I don't want to say with impunity, but from some relative safety. That's about the best we can hope for here. Little crossbeam there. Maybe I'll also turn one of these walls into some more wood at some point, but for now, the dirt is fine. And then we're going to close this in entirely. And we don't want to be able to jump here. The more space you have, the more likely it is that enemies will spawn. And if you have a 2-block tall build here, then at least the bowtorn can't spawn at all. And then we're going to put the little stairs up here, just by doing a bit of this. We're going to put these around like this. Just like that. Let's go pick up some more materials that I didn't remember to grab before we left. Let's have a bite to eat here on the way. And we're going to grab some stones and some clay, because we want to make some slabs. Got some clay. Here are the stones. And we need 8 slabs. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. 8 slabs. That should do just fine. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually bust out each of these here. And you may have noticed during your travels that there are creatures that are only 1 block tall. Shivers are 1 block tall, although they're also more than 1 block wide, so they probably wouldn't be able to fit down here anyway, and they're unlikely to fall in. They already have a 2x2 footprint, so they're not likely to fall in. This is just a pit for drifters. Drifters, however, can certainly spawn and be 1 block tall, and those are the ones that we need to protect against. So we're going to put these down here. I'm thinking, yeah, we'll put them here, so that we can sneak up in here and stab the enemies. We're going to break this grass to clear things out for harvesting, but the enemies won't be able to do much to us. And there we go. Aside from the door, our storm shelter / farm is nearly complete. The only real thing left is we should make a couple of racks. Tool racks. Maybe, let's see, let's do 3. I think having 12 spears is probably a good amount. Pop these across here, and we're going to check how long the storm is. So we're just going to go into the chat console and press up to bring up the last command used. We now have 1 day, so it's going to start in the evening tomorrow. Oh, that's terrible. That means that when we go home, when it's over, it'll be nighttime. So the sun won't be able to scare any drifters away for us. That's unfortunate. But let's spend a moment here. I'm going to just pound out 12 of these spears, and we're going to get these done. And there you have it. We are fully stocked. I'm going to keep the door on me, because we don't want it breaking before we really need it. So I'll place the door when we're ready to actually close things up. Now, if you're coming from an older version of Vintage Story, you might have gotten used to putting down small stones on the ground or other detritus to try to keep spawns from happening. That no longer works. Drifters can spawn, and well, actually any creatures can spawn, as long as there is enough physical room for them to do so, and they now ignore all blocks that are considered walkable. We can walk through stones, walk through grass. They can spawn on those just fine now. So, let's go home, and now we kind of have a bit of time to waste until the temporal storm. The waiting can really get to me sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't get to you too bad. Oh no, but our torches are burned out. At least this one did. Let's check the ones inside the house. They're okay. Let's go ahead and break all these and replace them. My favorite activity. Oh, and these ones burned out. Well, I'm going to get to bed, and I'll see you in the morning, and we're going to pretend like it is a normal day, and nothing spooky is going to happen later on in the evening. Nope, no siree. Not at all. Good morning, folks. On this normal day, nothing spooky going to happen in 10 hours. No siree. It was a calm night, so I did a couple chores, made a meal, and I also did an experiment regarding the pigs over here. I went and grabbed a couple turnips and I threw them into their pen. And we're going to do it again because there was some success. Then I grabbed 4, and by the way, you can grab individual items by holding down Control and then scrolling down to pick up, or scrolling up to place down, one by one. You can also right-click to grab half a stack and split them further like that. And you can also, of course, right-click and hold while you have an item to place one at a time, or left-click and drag to place all items and split the stacks evenly. So we're going to go and we're going to throw these turnips in with the pigs, and we're going to try to take a look at the sow while we're here. It might be hard to show. Come here, sow. There you are. If you look at the top, that's kind of flashing by, but it says portions eaten 1. That means they are indeed eating the food placed on the ground. Well, let's let them be. Let's go check on our rabbit traps. It is a good idea to check back regularly because the animals inside will die if I left them there for more than, I think, 48 hours. We have an empty basket trap, once again. I didn't bring any more bait. Once again. Bait acquired. And trap reset. Next. And this trap is not touched yet. That's a shame. I do spy a rabbit going to it right now. Oh, really? Oh, there are several, though. I don't want to scare you all, but I do need to reset your trap, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, trap reset. I wonder if it's better to, like, have it facing them. Let's try that. It might make no difference, but there we go. Alright, now we can go see how our pigs are doing, and see if our sow has eaten any more food. When breeding your animals, you only need to feed 1 unit of food to the male for mating action, but the females need 10 units of food. So we need to feed her at least 10 turnips before she'll be ready to breed. Now the male will generally still eat food as it's available, so we might end up having to feed her 20 or possibly more depending on whether she gets to it first or he does. Let's see, we still have a few in here. Are you eating? Still have 1 eaten, okay. Well, we'll try to stay away from you guys so you can have your food. I think I'm going to fill this thing in finally though. There we go. And how are our crops doing? Hey, we have carrots. Oh, I should have checked these earlier. Let's see. From 7 patches of carrots, we got 67. That is a wild amount of carrots. Now, we are going to need to rotate these crops, meaning take these carrots and plant them somewhere else. That's because they have been using the potassium or the K in the high fertility soil. Oh, and look at this. We had 7 carrots planted, but we got 8 carrot seeds back. That's because whenever you harvest any of your crops, there's a 10% chance that you'll get an extra seed. I'm going to plant them in the other plot here, which was growing nitrogen-loving plants before, meaning the K is untouched. And we'll let the K recover in the high fertility soil, and we'll let the N recover in this soil. We'll go ahead and just start that right there. These are also almost ready. They're growing slower because they are in the medium fertility soil, but that's just fine. And then over here in our other trap, we have at least 1 deer. Yeah, a deer and a bunch of fawns. We could let them grow up a little bit. I think we should. I think I'll try to take out the mama deer. The only trouble with leaving them here is that they can attract bears, which is fine, just that I'd rather have the meat than give it to the bears. Alright, mama deer. Oh, sorry, that wasn't for you. Oh, we just got the message that the temporal storm is approaching. This is really wild. Okay, you know what, dear? You can live. I'll leave you alone. So you will get a temporal storm is approaching warning when there are about 8 in-game hours before the storm hits. And 8 in-game hours means about 16 minutes. Every in-game hour is 2 minutes of time. So you have some time once you see this warning. There we go. What's up, buddy? You also get a storm is imminent warning about a minute before it hits. Real life minute. Gotcha, buddy. You coming? There we go. It's more like it. Come here. There we go. There we go. Bushmeat and a fox hide. There we go. So 2 fox pelts. Sadly, we don't have any fat, so we can't even think about turning them into pelts for now. So we're going to put them in the cellar, because just like everything else that spoils, they will spoil slower in the cellar. You can go in there, you can go in there for now, that's fine. Oh, and the carrots too. Let's see, how many carrots can I fit in here? Not many. Let's go get another one of these containers and we'll just plop it in here. Alright, so 1 and 2, there we go. We now have room for the carrots. There we go. Aha! I believe she's eaten. Portion's eaten 3. There we go. Another chore I haven't seen to in a while is getting some more peat, since peat is a wonderful fuel, and not just for clay firing, also so we don't have to chop down trees and then chop their wood down further into firewood. Digging up peat from the ground is a lot more economical as far as your time is concerned, as well as tool durability. Since shovels have more durability than axes do, it makes sense to not have to double up on durability use. In general, it's best to avoid just passing time in the game. You know, like standing still and waiting for time to pass. There's always something to do in Vintage Story, so if you have the time to do it, you may as well just get something done. Whether it's cooking, or chopping trees, or digging peat, or as you get later in the game, smelting and other operations that require more advanced technology. Oh, that'll do for now. One more, I guess. It's a bit tall, but whatever. Alright, I'm going to see what other chores I can get to around here. Maybe make some blocks for building with later. And then I'll see all of you when the temporal storm hits. Okay, folks, with 1 in-game hour or 2 minutes left on the clock, it is time to get over here and shut ourselves in. Oh, that's going to be rough. That's going to be real rough. I don't like having a rift right there. That's going to be a problem because that could spawn things in here too, despite being lit. There is one last thing we can do. We can make ourselves some very primitive armor with some firewood, 3 rope, 9 dry grass, and a knife right here. We can get some improvised body armor. It's not much, but it'll save our life in a pinch. You can right click to put it on. As you can see, we are now wearing some very fine armor. While this will soak plenty of hits from a surface drifter, a single hit from anything tier 4 or higher will rip our armor to shreds instantly. And there is the imminent warning. I'm going to grab just one more spear, get our knife out, get our shield out, replace this torch just in case, and we're going to stay crouched in here pretty much the whole time. So, here goes nothing, folks. Buckle in and get ready for a wild ride. There it is. Everything gets very glitchy. The music is overridden by the sort of terrible sounds of the temporal storm. And that sound sounds like a shiver that's hanging out near us. Yeah, and they might try to get to us through the door. That door is staying closed. We want them to fall into these pits here, where we can maybe stab them to death. I'm gonna hang out. Yeah, this should be safe right here. Well, here's one. What do we have here? We have a tainted drifter. So we can stab these guys from here with relative impunity, unless he gets too close. Oh, here's one. So these crawlers are a reason why we want to make sure that this is less than 1 block wide. Otherwise, they'd be able to get to us. Now, these two... I think this guy killed the tainted drifter, which means it'll have fewer drops for us. Yeah, it was killed by a vile creature. Okay. That's not terrific. Things killed by drifters drop less loot. Yeah, that's right, buddy. There we go. Who's over here? A deep drifter again. Now this is a light temporal storm. There are 3 grades of temporal storm. Light, medium, and heavy. And the temporal storm's type will determine what likelihood you're going to find different levels of creatures at. Being light, we're mostly going to see the weakest creatures here. Here we go. We got some blacks. Oh boy. And there's that shiver just sort of crawling up our little hut here. Now, combat is very hungry work. As you can see, we're already down to almost nothing here. I'm going to have to fight to eat here. And that's why I was making an emergency pot of extra food to bring with us. I realized we were going to starve to death in here, possibly. So, yeah, this is a temporal storm. When there isn't much to do, there isn't much to do. It's not very exciting. So I'll just bring you guys back if anything interesting happens. Otherwise, I'll see you when it's over. Oh, and there we go. We got the temporal storm is waning notification. That tells us there's about another real-life minute to go before the temporal storm fades. And this is the point where if there are any enemies that you want to harvest, except for drifters that aren't blinking, like these guys are. Ooh, there we go. There's a shiver stuck in there. That was fun. Then you want to make sure you harvest them before this temporal storm is over, or you might lose your loot. This guy, since he isn't blinking, he'll stick around, so we'll go ahead and kill him. Get a bit of a harvest in here. Nothing. Ooh, my. A surface shiver. That's fun. Oh, we got him. Wow, look at that. Oh, and he just disappeared. Nifty. Well, yeah. That's fun. Hi, guys. I don't want to deal with you guys. Well, yeah, that's Temporal Storm. Not so bad for the first time. We were lucky we didn't get anything spawning in here with us. But it is certainly possible to happen, so make sure you're on your guard even in a safe hidey hole like this one. Well, I'm going to wait for probably morning, where I might try to just bust out and run past this guy. Or maybe I could go for it. What do you guys think? Can we take him? And the door, of course, broke. I think we'll be okay. And that our spear has good reach and we can knock him back. Oh, that's a wolf. Haven't heard one of those yet this game. Oh dear. It's time for a mad dash back to the house. Let's go. Alright. Home safe. No more storms, no more monsters. I do see that our original pelts here, or our hides here, rotted. That is A-okay. And yes, I know there are some of you who are looking at the bear pelt on the floor saying, "Hey, Corazar, you could have made cooler armor with that." Not to worry, that is certainly coming. Just not today. We're taking things slow around here this time around. And I'm enjoying the process of going through each thing we can do at the earliest stage of the game when we can do it. Anyway, folks, that's going to about do it for this episode of the Vintage Story Guide. I hope you enjoyed learning about how to prepare for and survive through your first temporal storm, as well as how to profit from it, even if we only got 3 flax fibers. Still, it's something. You never know, you might get lucky. You may have noticed that breaking and replacing torches is kind of a repetitive and annoying task to do. And so in the next episode, I think we're going to take a look at the options we have for illuminating our homes in the Stone Age. There are some permanent methods of lighting our house that we might be able to get into, and one of them might take us quite far from home as we search for a certain kind of buzzing little insect. The names you see scrolling by belong to the awesome people who are supporting the channel as members. If you would like to have your name in the credits, get early access to videos, or maybe even hear me butcher your name in the next section, then consider joining the channel. The following people have gone the extra mile to support the channel by subscribing at the Seraph tier. Their names are Elizabeth Woolley, Inger Raymond, Joshua Saruda, Linda Harris, Mad Lord Hubris, Oak Tree, Servus, Smiley Builds, Sue Wallace, Tyluna, and Wade Parker. As always, my name has been Kurazar. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.